Mark, guess what?
What's it? We're talking?
We're live.
Good.
This is a turn of fucking events. So I'm going to sound this one off, man, and I'm going to tell you something. This one's a privilege to sound off for you, man, just to even introduce the show and where it's at now, you know. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna sound off, and then we're going to dive on into it, all right? The Sharp Tank. No jumper. Sharpest, coolest podcast in the world. And today, I have a man, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I feel a little emotional about this one a little bit, you know, because where me and you started, like I said, you know, 16 minutes and 1 second really changed my life. I got Mark from Soft White Underbelly in the building today with me. How you doing, man?
Good, Sharpie. How are you, babe?
I'm doing good, man. I'm hanging in there. How about yourself?
I'm great.
Yeah. So tell so you know, for the viewers that that don't know you, because I'm sure there's a lot that do, can you please let some of the viewers know what Soft White Underbelly consists of and where it originated?
It's I'm a photographer. I've been a photographer my whole life. Started out in advertising, but all along in my career, I was always, thank you, I was always doing side projects like personal work, which was usually, very often, it was like portraits of, like, you know, when I lived in Chicago, I'd photograph drunks that were living on the street. I thought that was fascinating. These guys lived a life that was like, I couldn't even imagine. So that's how I started doing that kind of stuff. And then I was doing advertising and going back and forth. I would keep going back to this kind of, this underworld, this street kind of content. I was always fascinated with dark, interesting stuff like that. So that's where I started. And I did a book called Create Equal, which was published, I think 2010 it came out. It's out of print now, so it's hard to find. But it's just portraits of interesting people. Again, like Create Equal, but a more varied mix of people. Everything from, there's an astronaut in there, there's a ballerina, there's a homeless man, there's a drug addict, there's everything. Everything you can imagine. It went to each of the lower 48 states and shot everything you could, you know, everything that exists in the U.S. Ku Klux Klan, everything. And that's where I really kind of just learned my chops and how to deal with these kind of people.
Yeah.
They're not just like your regular folks who, like, you know, if you make an appointment with your insurance agent, he's going to be there. The majority of these people that I'm interviewing for Soft White Underbelly, they don't show up on time. Even you don't show up on time. Nobody shows up on time. And
don't you do that, Laura. Laura said the man's still the same to this day.
but it's a very different protocol with the kind of people that I'm doing for this project.
Right.
They're unreliable. They're shady. There's a lot of shit going on that doesn't go on with your normal person.
Yeah.
But I learned it on that project, and now I put down advertising and I just do this. This is all I do now.
Yeah. When you start, what made you put down advertisement? I mean, I remember you telling me, you know, there was nothing you really wanted for in the world. If you wanted to get up, you know, you lived across the street from celebrities, you know.
I made a lot of money in adversing, so that's really where my money
You say
comes.
you'd wake up in the morning, tell your wife and them, hey, you guys want to go to Paris? Let's go to Paris. I'll pack your bags. We're out of here today.
No, I worked my ass off in advertising. I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I saved it, and I bought a couple houses and lived a great life.
Right.
But at some point, money isn't really that important.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you happy.
So what was it that made you go down, and because your studio is in Skid Row.
Right in the heart of it.
It's right in the heart of it.
Yeah.
It's not in some bougie area. It's not where, you know, it's not in the hills. It's not in none of that where you go get these people and you bring them up, you know. You're right in the heart.
I'm right in the action.
Tell me, what made you really start to want to create these videos? Because I've seen you do stuff with incest people. I've saw you do it. The list is really abroad.
Yeah, it's going to get broader too. But for, you know, we can talk about that later. I've always been a photographer, so I had my advertising studio, which was in Culver City in LA, and it was a nice neighborhood, and it was safe and very different than where I'm at now with this studio. But I want to shoot these kind of people, and they're not going to be able to, I can't relocate them to my studio where I shoot advertising stuff. So I just got a cheap little studio down on 6th Street on Skid Row. And I just started doing portraits, and I was doing lots of them. It never turned into a project, but I have lots of great portraits of people on Skid Row.
What was the reasoning of that? Why were you starting to take portraits?
Same thing I did when I was a 14-year-old in Chicago shooting drunks on the street. It was just interesting to me. And then I started doing interviews. I did an interview with Caroline, who's a heroin addict, that I got to know. A really beautiful young lady who's a heroin addict, prostitute. And I said, hey, tell me your story. I'll videotape it.
Yeah.
And she did, and it was just mind-blowing. It was like, wow, that's heavy. That's so heavy. And I just thought I hit a home run the first time at bat, and I was thinking, that's never going to happen again. Yeah. But I kept doing them, and they were all interesting in different ways, very different ways. This one was interesting for this reason, that one was interesting for that reason, this one was heartbreaking, that one was just fascinating. And I just kept doing them. And there are all kinds of different people down there. There's alcoholics, there's drug addicts of all sorts, there's mentally ill people, like by the truckload. Transgenders, there's prostitutes, there's pimps, there's everything that whole underworld has is all basically down on Skid Row, and they're just bringing in new ones all the time. The Greyhound stations down the street, and other cities around the country will get rid of their unwanted people and just put them on a one-way ticket to LA, and they drop them off at the Greyhound station on 7th Street, which is just down the street from my studio, and here they come. Sometimes I just sit outside my door. And here come the people from the Greyhound station. And they're like, hey, come on in here.
What is normally, I'm just asking, what would be normally for somebody that comes off the street, comes from off of Skid Row, what would be like do you give these people, you give them money for these?
Yeah, typically.
What would be like the most, from the least to the most you would give the average person walking in that you would want to capture the story?
Just the way, in our first interview, I asked you a question, you said I'd rather not answer that. Mm-hmm. I'd rather not answer this one.
Understandable.
Because there's a lot of things I do that I learned on that first project that are important in terms of how I do this. And I just want to protect that.
Right.
I don't want to tell everybody how I do everything. It's like, then if you got a million people doing it. I don't know that what I do is that duplicatable anyway. Yeah. It'd be hard for somebody else to do this. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure people would think about you, Mark. They probably think, here's this man shooting.
But I'm generous.
Of course.
I err on the generous side.
Of course. But, here's this man, filming these people. What would he have in common? People probably would try to ask, like, what does he have in common with him? Does he do drugs with him?
Never smoked pot.
Does he never smoke pot?
I've never smoked pot. When I'm around you, I get high because there's so much pot in the air. Like here.
Right. Of course. Have you ever done any other narcotics? Crack?
Never.
Meth?
Never.
Nothing?
No. Haven't had a drink of alcohol in a while.
How long?
Shit, I don't know. 2 years, 3 years?
2 years, 3 years.
If I'm not against drinking. I'm a happy drunk, but I go to the gym every morning. I'd rather be in good shape in the morning rather than hammered. So I don't. Yeah. But drugs are not my thing.
Right. Respect that. Because like I said, I think people probably think like, what does he have in common with these people? Is it drugs, or is he tricking with the prostitutes? Or are you spending money with them for
I never do that.
Your own self-sexual gain? I don't think that you do either, because you don't come off as that person. I'm just saying what people think that you. I want to get some clarity with you into what you do.
Yeah, I think I'm fascinated with the human struggle.
Yeah.
And these struggles are intense. They're like the human struggle on steroids.
Yeah.
A lot of fertilizer on these kids' childhoods.
Yeah.
Of damage. It's just like, whoa. Like you hear some of these stories, like, man, like nothing like mine.
Yeah.
I had two great parents.
You're good. Relax.
I had two great parents, and it's almost like it's a thank you to my parents. What I'm doing.
Yeah. Why would you? What makes you feel like it's a thank you to your parents?
I think my parents did a great job. Yeah. They did a great job raising me and my sister.
Yeah.
And my mom died a couple years ago. What do? You can't. She's gone, but it's like a thank you. Just to. Because I think what I'm doing can, if I keep plugging away at it, it can eventually get people to see how important parenting is in the raising of a child or a person. You know, those first 5 years, 7 years, 10 years are super important. To have a dad who's a role model, who's somebody who's going to teach you the difference between a hustler and a good guy, to show you the kind of man that you should want in your life as a young girl, and to show a young man how to be a man. And the same thing with a mom. You know, it's super important stuff. And it's kind of like unraveling as each generation goes by. It's like you see the parenting just getting more lax and more off target, and it just seems like things are going haywire.
I mean, there's little girls, you know, that know, you know, that wear actual, like, just real makeup, man, 7, 8 years old, 9 years old, and their parents are just allowing these type of things because they feel like it's cute now in the moment versus what the child might actually end up being later on in life. And you know, people have to understand something, man. Like, about maybe 13 years old to 18, 19 years old is the most very vital time of a child's life, because that's where they're going to really start picking up things. They're going to start understanding that, you know, okay, this is how this goes. They understand when they can hear when mom and dad's arguing, and they can understand what they're talking about now versus when they were kids. It just sounds like the house is a loud house. Mm-hmm. It's a lot different, you know. You start to be able to see, and you start to pick up these traits, man. Because I'll tell you this, you are right when you say that, Mark. Like, when it comes to children's upbringings, it really does shower the child more than they know what the parents are doing around them.
Yeah, the kids know.
You know,
kids are smart. They may not understand exactly, but they can sense and feel that there's some fakery, some bullshit, some crazy shit going on that isn't right. And when a kid's confused, they just think that maybe being confused is the way you go through life. You know, I got a divorce 5, 6, 7 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. And I realized, you know, that my daughters didn't know exactly what happened. I have 2 daughters. And I said, shit, I'm going to sit them down and tell them exactly how dad fucked up. And it's not all my fault.
What do you feel like you fucked up at, Mark?
Well, no, I'm not saying I fucked up. It's just. I mean, it takes 2 to tango. But whatever the case, I got involved with him, and that ended the relationship. And I just wanted them to know everything there was to know, everything that was useful for their minds to process. That's what happened with my parents. I mean, we're still great. I mean, you know,
cool with your ex-wife?
Yeah, everything's cool with my ex-wife. You know, I spent Christmas with her back in, you know, go to visit her all the time, and it's great. We have a great relationship. You'd think we're still married, but all I'm saying is my kids, you want to respect your kids' minds and just make them realize that they're worthy of everything, from unconditional love to understanding how the world works, to understanding what a man and what a woman should be when they grow up. All that stuff is super important.
You guys never thought about working it out for you and your kids?
Me and my ex-wife, you mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know. We'll see. Probably not.
You accept that pretty much.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love her, and she's great. Greatest woman I ever met, but I don't know. I mean, it isn't something it was the greatest relationship ever. It was a magnificent relationship. 17 years we were married. People used to say, like, you know, man, you guys are like newlyweds. How long have you been married? We've been married 12 years. It was great.
Can't help who the spirit attracts to.
No, you can't control that. No, you cannot control that. But she was great. You know, she was pre-approved by my mom. She worked with my mom. She was a model. My mom was a model in Chicago, and she worked with my mom. And my mom goes, "You should meet my son," jokingly, I think. And they started joking back and forth, and then she showed a photo, and next thing you know, I was coming out to visit, and we went on a date, and we went on one date, and she said, "No, I'm busy the rest of the weekend." I'm like, what? What do you mean you're busy all weekend? That just makes you chase.
Yeah.
That just makes you chase.
Have you? I have to ask you this: have you ever, like, throughout doing these interviews, because you seem like the type of person you don't really attract to looks. You attract to, because I'm the same way. You attract to the vibe somebody gives you.
The whole thing.
But not just necessarily, because I feel like, okay, you've had attractive women in your life before, right?
Yeah.
You know, they can turn out to be pretty bums. So you start to look into them more as, okay, well, this is somebody that, I want more out of the situation. I don't just want sex. You're looking for something a little bit differently. Have you ever felt any type of way about any of the people that you have interviewed on your channel, or anybody that you've ran into on Skid Row?
There's been a few people. I'm a single guy.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily get involved with hustlers like the typical people I interview.
Yeah.
But I will admit that some of these people have souls that are interesting and great personalities, and they're attractive. And there's been 3 or 4 women that are just like, wow.
Yeah. Tell me, me and you had a phone conversation.
We have a lot of phone conversations.
We do. We have a lot. You know what I'm saying? We had a phone conversation, and there was this one conversation where me and you had to where you were like, man, Sharp, because you had called me, and you was like, man, there's this one girl, man, and I just don't understand. We don't have to bring up any names, or mention any names, but you were like, man, there's this one girl, man, like she just reaches my soul. I liked her a lot. You liked her a lot, man, and you tell us a little bit about that. I'd rather you explain it versus me explain the story.
No, she was a. I used to go down to Figueroa Street and just look for girls to interview, not for anything else. Never done that. But
Mark,
believe it or not,
you don't have to do any disclaimers.
Yeah,
we're here.
No, whatever. You can ask all these girls what kind of shenanigans I get into.
Yeah,
I don't do that. But I was down there and I came up on this girl and she goes, hey, honey, you want a date or whatever? And I'm like, no, I'm good. And I pulled away. I'm like, well, you know when you meet somebody and just like, what was that? It was one of those things where it's like there was something about her that just like that was different. Even though she's a girl that's working the street. I've never ever done something like that. So I go around the block and I come back and there she is and I go, just get in. And she gets in. And
right the fuck on, Mark.
And I figured,
right the fuck on, Mark.
No, so I got to know her and we got along great and everything was cool and it was just like, to me, she was fascinating. She was intelligent, seemed to have a really great heart. She was just a really warm person, just had a really special personality. Very unusual for that kind of girl, right? A girl that's working the streets.
Yeah.
She was very different, but got to know each other. I would see her quite often, but then she one day just flipped. Just like,
what'd she do? Like,
what? Well, she called me once and asked me if I'd help her get off the streets and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm your guy, but just want to let you know there's no strings attached. This is not a sugar daddy thing. This is not anything like that. I'm just going to help you, which is what I do with a lot of these people, right? And that was that. I said, I'm busy right now. Let me call you when I'm done working, and we'll talk tonight. And then she never answered her phone. Tried her the next day, never answered her phone. And I went back to where she works, and there she is on the street. Sees my car and just runs away.
What did you?
So I think what it is just sometimes people get scared.
Well,
what did you? Even good things.
What do you? And scared, I feel like is a surface word for what it probably really was. What did you make of that when she just kind of walked off? What was the feeling that came about when you were sitting there and this is the same chick that was just asking you for a date? You came around the corner, you told her to get in, and she got in as fast as she could. And then when you went back to, go and try to, because you felt some type of connection, you go back and then she boos you.
Yeah, make a long story short. That was over the course of a month or so, I think.
So you were talking to her for a whole month?
Yeah. And everything was cool. It was cool the entire time. And then all of a sudden, just it turned on a dime. I don't know what happened. But I assumed at the moment, and I still probably do today, that she just kind of got freaked out at that. Girls that are doing that kind of work have a real hard time with a loving relationship. They probably had a dad that wasn't the greatest in one way or another. Not
true, Mark. They all look for love, Mark. They all looking for love. And I've said it to you on the very first interview that me and you had. What did I say to you? My famous word, I said, man, everybody, all of us, including you, we're all searching for something that we've never had before. And that can even ring in the time of saying even the ultimate love. We're looking for a certain type of love, man.
Yeah, right.
Everybody's love is rare, man, whatever makes them tick.
Yeah, so maybe mine was a different flavor than what she
wanted.
Yeah.
You
so
know?
whatever, but her reaction was so strong. There was like, whoa. Like, you know, I've mentioned this before in interviews before. One of the best things I've ever learned, most useful things, A Course in Miracles. I'm not a religious dude, but it's a religious book based on the Bible, I think. And I know. But one of the best quotes in there, which I just can't forget still to this day, is everything we do is either an act of love or an act of fear. And if you boil down everything you do as either love or fear, you see that a big percentage of what we do is out of fear. So when somebody reacts that strongly to me just being kind, I know that she's scared shitless of something. Yeah. Didn't know exactly what it was, but reacted strongly to just kindness.
As a man, because I would consider you
that was the end of that.
But I consider you a wholesome man.
Yeah,
I would so that. What was it that you naturally, like, because you obviously when you saw the girl, it wasn't about no money. You didn't care about paying her. You didn't care about, oh, I just want to get a quick nut. I want to do all this. No, when you saw her, you got a different type of feeling about her. Sure. What was it that you saw that struck you? Or listened to her about that struck you?
That's what love is. It's that mysterious thing. If you could boil it down, you would just put out an app and list your qualities, and somebody would deliver, and you'd be done.
You feel like you fell in love with her?
Well, it had the possibility for that. It takes more than, there was definitely that initial attraction for sure, but it never got a chance to take off, and that was that. That happens a lot, I think. A lot of people that could be right, just it never works out.
Because I don't want to keep stabbing at your heart on that one or having you talk about that, and then that's good, so we'll take a change here in events, and I want to talk to you about, man, one of the crazy, to you of all time, what was one of the most craziest interviews you've ever had the opportunity to witness or to record?
There's been a lot, but one of the most extreme that everyone can probably grasp is a guy named James, who was a rapist. I titled it Rapist Interview, but he actually murdered a girl, a prostitute in New Orleans, I think it was. He picked her up and murdered her, and he talked about that. And he also talked about how he was, that's an initial interview. He also raped his mom when he was a kid. It's very interesting the way he says it. He speaks super softly. Everyone gives me a hard time for the audio on that video because he's so hard to understand. But the traffic noise outside my studio is what it is, and you speak nice and loud. So for you, the audio is no problem. But when he's talking like this and he's mumbling, it's like makes it really hard to understand what he's saying. The traffic noise drowns him out. But he mumbles something about something with his mom, and I asked him to repeat it, and he basically I raped my mom, which is heavy. But then I interviewed him, I think like 5 or 6 times. And in some of the later ones, he talks about how he was, there's websites where you can look up who the sex offenders are in your neighborhood, and down in Skid Row, they're all over. Every block has plenty of them because they have to be in these neighborhoods where there's no schools and no kids around. And
you can't be in certain zones.
Yeah, Skid Row is a gold mine for those guys.
Right.
Lots of them. And he would find them and murder them.
Pisses me off, man. I got to smoke just to even hear the story. It boils me,
He said
man.
He walked into the police station, told them what he was doing, and they go, we know who you are.
So this man that's raping and killing women
No, raping and killing sex offenders.
Oh, this man was killing sex offenders.
So when he was on Skid Row, he told me he was killing sex offenders. Earlier in his life, he murdered a girl that was a prostitute in New Orleans, and then he also attempted murder on a girl, but she didn't die. Years later, he did less time for that one. And then he eventually got stabbed, and he died on Skid Row.
What happened to him on Skid Row?
He got stabbed and ended up dying.
Somebody found out his jacket.
Could be.
That's what happens. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. When you're out there in the streets, it's like, I've said it before, man, you know, especially being on Skid Row, it's kangaroo court. Why do you think you had people that were out there? I think you interviewed somebody that was a debt collector. Mm-hmm. He was a debt collector. You collect debts on Skid Row. Maybe collect some of them people out there that are debt collectors that are on Skid Row, go and collect a life. You know, mm-hmm. It's to hear these type of stories, man, of people and the type of things that they will be comfortable with coming and even sharing with you on camera speaks volumes. The one that hit me the hardest from you, I mean, obviously I'm on your channel. I've done
4.
I've done 4. I've done, you know, and they've gotten well watched, you know.
You're one of the most popular people on my channel.
The one that, I'll tell you this, well, if I felt like I was ever getting beat, there was one, maybe 2 episodes that you did that I felt like just touched a different demographic of people, was when you went and you interviewed the Whitakers.
The inbred family in West Virginia.
Inbred family in West Virginia. Tell us a little something about that.
So they are a family that I discovered when I did that book I mentioned earlier, Create Equal. I was in West Virginia and came upon a cop in a truck stop and told him what I'm doing. You know, cops are good because they know everybody and everything in their county. And he goes, yeah, I got all kinds of people I could show you. And he goes, you want to meet me here at 3 o'clock? I get off at 3. I'll meet you right here. So I met him there at 3 o'clock, and he took us to this piece, you know, this family, this one. And then it rained really hard, and all our equipment got wet, and we had to bail. So we left. But he says, you got to come back. You got to come back. I've saved the best for last. So we came back like a week or so later, and he told me before, he said, bring a video camera. And I wasn't doing video at the time. This was 10, 12, 13 years ago. I came back and he goes, you got a video camera? I'm like, no, I don't do video. He got really upset. I said, no, I just don't do video. I just don't do photographs. He was really upset. But so we go down there, go down this road. It's just like your mind imagines it. Just a road that turns into a dirt road, turns into barely even a road. And then you come on these 2 houses, one on this side, one on that side of the road. They're shacks. One's a motor home and the other one's just a shack. Maybe it was a motor home that was kind of converted into looks like a building. But we come around the bend and there's like one guy who's just yelling, like barking like a dog. One guy's staring at you, but the eyes are going off in different directions. Another one doing the same. It was just like Deliverance times 5. And it was the craziest thing ever at the time. And I figured out that this is going to be tricky to get them to let me photograph them. Forget about interview. I wasn't even thinking interview at the time. But just to get a photograph the way I do it, like a formal portrait is going to be like, these people are too wild. They're like wild animals. You can't get them to sit still. But I was patient. I set up and had my backdrop up and the camera and the lighting and all that, and everything was set. And then I wanted to shoot the 3 brothers together. There's 15 kids, so there's a lot of them. But they're not kids, they're adults now. You know, they're in their 40s probably at the time. Maybe 50s even, I don't know. They were older, but they were fascinating. And I got the 2 brothers to stand for it, but Ray would not. He was just too out of control. Like every time I'd even speak to him, like I'd have the camera set and he would stand like 3 inches from the camera. Like, no, Ray, I need you to stand over. Like every time I spoke to him, he just ran off like he got really upset, started screaming, and would run off, and his pants had no belt, and the pants would fall around his ankles, and he went in the corner and started kicking a garbage can. And he did that over and over and over. And then eventually somebody pulls up with a shotgun and a pickup truck and got really upset that I was trying to photograph these people. But what I explained to him, he wanted to shoot this city slicker. But I told him, like, you know, because what happened is when we showed up that first time, somebody had just died in the family, whether it was a grandmother or an aunt or somebody had passed away, and they were kind of in mourning. So it was hard enough to even photograph them in the first place because they were dealing with that. But I told them that, because I was shooting 8x10 film and 8x10 Polaroids at the time, which are instant, of course. I told them I do these instant photos, and I can give you a portrait of the family that you can put in the casket, so the deceased can take the family with them, and they like that idea. So that's what I did, and that's like the quick thinking that you have to do sometimes in order to make things work out. So it worked out. Eventually, got Ray to stand for that portrait, and that's the photo that you see in that first Whitaker video.
It was cringy a bit.
Yeah, it's different. It's hard to imagine that exists in the United States, but I think there's more of it than you think.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there is. You know, I mean, if you look at the beginning of time, you know, I mean, when you say we're all incest, if that's the case.
Yeah. No, but people question
They're just different. There were more in the family, because when I watched it, you know, there was only one person that you were speaking to, and I think that was the mother, and
they're all siblings.
They're all siblings.
They're all siblings except for Timmy, who is a nephew, I believe. So there's no mother there. The mother and father are deceased. These are all the offspring. They're all brother and sister except for Timmy.
Wow.
Yeah. Some are older, some are younger. So she looks like a mother, but she's actually a sister.
Wow.
You're talking about Betty.
She was sitting in the rocking chair.
Yeah, that's Betty.
Holding the dog.
She's a sister.
So that's just all her brothers and sisters.
They're all brothers and sisters. Now, they're not having sex with each other. The parents... Now people question if you look at the family tree, they say the parents were double first cousins. Whatever a double first cousin is, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but
I'm not sure
the parents
either.
were double first cousins, but then they're also... There's all these genealogy people that have contacted me about the Whitaker family, and they said at one point, for some of the siblings, that the parents were brother and sister.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the truth is. And honestly, I heard some stuff recently that the environmental damage from coal mining causes genetic damage, and that could explain a lot of what you see in that family too, because they're in coal country.
So you're saying
their father was a coal miner.
So you're saying they're not only incest, they might have coal mining issues from things that were going on in the Appalachians.
I would bet that's what's going on there. Combination of both.
Wow.
Yeah, but regardless, after you have one kid and they come out off like that, and you have a second one, you would think that you would put the brakes on having kids. But there's 14 kids, I think.
14 of them.
14.
How many lived right there in that area?
In that area, I think most of them. A couple moved to Virginia, which is just over the border, and other counties in West Virginia. But just in that just in that county, I think most of them were there.
Yeah. When I watched the video, I noticed that even though the houses were ran down and the houses were messed up at a trailer across the street or whatever, it was a very beautiful area. Virginia is very beautiful.
West Virginia is gorgeous. Kentucky and West Virginia
is a very beautiful place. And then when I was watching the video, I watched you talk to one of the one that was barking like a dog? Ray. And you asked him where his brother was buried.
Yeah.
You know, and the way that he moved you, you know, and brought you, say, come on, like, you want to go see?
I don't know that that's what actually happened. I still don't know to this day. I would guess it's not. I don't know.
I mean, he took you to a burial ground.
Yeah, if you look at him, it looks like somebody was buried there, and he's pointing to the ground, and we're talking about his brother, and where, you know, so I don't know what the truth is. Sometimes you have to accept that you're not going to know what the truth is.
Yeah.
You just have to.
Yeah.
Like with that girl that you mentioned earlier, I don't know what the truth is.
Yeah.
You just have to accept that you don't know the whole story.
Yeah. Let's talk about because this particular case that we're going to talk about, I noticed that this kind of brought you a little bit more of a problem, and you were having some, I ain't going to say issues, but you were just having some complications with the situation with the girl Exotic. Let's talk about that a little bit, and let's dive into that.
Yeah, I don't want to pull anybody under the bus.
Of course not. That's not what you're here to do. You know, you're here to tell the truth. We're in the sharp tank. Hey, man, we're in the sharp tank. So, you know, we're going to go as deep as possible, as much as as far as you're willing to go down.
Here's what I'll say about that. Because I tend to do things in a way where I'm not I take the high road. A lot of these hustlers that I interview tend to play things differently. So helping is not part of my channel. That's not what this channel, Soft White Underbelly, is all about. But I'm just a sucker / nice guy, whatever you want to call it. Adam would call me a sucker. Somebody else might call me a nice guy.
He ain't going to call you that.
Whatever. No, whatever. But I'm helpful to a lot of these people. Some I've been more helpful to. And what people don't understand, like Azraya Exotic, got a lot of help. But the reason she got so much help, her video just took off for whatever reason. She's a very pretty girl, right? And her story was interesting, but it wasn't more interesting than 95% of the other girls on Fig that I interviewed. But there's something about her video that just took off. She got 5 marriage proposals. She got like countless people saying, you can come live with me. You and your kids can come to Australia, Belgium, Canada, United States, all these different places. Come live with me. You can live with us for free. So she got all this outreach, people wanting to help her, people wanting to marry her, people wanting to donate money. So I have a GoFundMe, a channel, a general GoFundMe. I don't target it for one person. I'm doing it for the Whitaker family, but that one's separate. But generally, I have a GoFundMe that just collects money, and I tend to spread it out amongst all the people that I interview in different ways. But what was happening with Exotic is everybody was donating money and saying, I want this to go to Exotic. And
how much did that generate for her personally?
About $40,000, $50,000.
Wow.
For a young girl. Who's
off of a fucking GoFundMe. What the fuck?
Her video got 10 million views. 10 million views. So that 10 million view video just made everybody and here's the part that's super interesting. So I've got over 1,000 videos on my channel. YouTube Analytics, the YouTube Studio, which is a great app that YouTube has.
I have it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And they tell you everything you want to know about a video, including the ratio of likes to dislikes. And generally my videos, if it's a sex offender, it might get 93, 94%. If it's a drug addict, it'll get 95, 96%, 97. If it's a nice, sweeter story, maybe 98. Exotic's first video, got 99.6%. Highest by a long shot of anything I've ever done. Crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. That's the most interesting detail of this whole thing. And if you read the comments on that video before the third video came out, before story flipped, the comments were just unanimous. Oh my God, this is the most heartbreaking story ever. We need to help this girl. How can we help this girl? Mark, everybody wants to help her.
I think they tripped because that bitch had somebody's name tattooed on her face. They couldn't understand why something hashtag bunny ears, something so beautiful to everybody, could have something like that so hideous across their face. But see, for people out there, man, and for all the squares and all the people that understand, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. That girl 1,000% chose that. She chose that, man. Let's not fucking act like her face got held down. Oh, we're holding her down. Mark her, brand her. Man, that bitch laid there with a smile. She laid there with a smile while she did that. So I just want everybody to know, while they sit there and they watch that and they think that, oh, well, this is something that's just so sad and just so, no, this girl laid down, man. The lines are clean on her face.
No, you're exactly right there.
The lines are clean on her face, man. She laid there with a smile. The fucking tattoo artist had to tell her, like, hey, don't smile too much. I need your whole cheek.
Yeah. That's what I think the viewer sees, this really beautiful face, and she's a very beautiful girl, right?
Yeah.
With these terrible tattoos of a pimp's name on her face, more than one, right? That's just such
more than one.
Yeah, there was one up here and a huge one across her cheek.
Look at that. See, that's the problem with the game, though, Mark. And I've said this to you before. That's the problem with the game. See, you can't treat. Being a lady of the night was never to this. It's not gangbanging. You don't fucking throw his fucking name on your face. And if that's what you're doing, guess what? You're letting the police already know who you fucking with. You already letting them know who he needs to go deal with or who he needs to go find.
That's right.
I hate that about the game, man, that they're no longer ninjas in it. You know, ninjas were never seen. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't really see that anymore.
They say the game is...
Man, it's been watered down for a while.
The game is
now.
sold, never told, right?
Hey, man, but it's been watered down for a while now, and that's why I've tried to come back. I've tried to resurrect a better image of just what it did stand for versus what they're giving it, two black eyes and a fucking bruise on the jaw and teeth missing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
If you're going to do that, that's what you've decided to do with your life. You're doing a great job of that. You can question whether being a P is a noble cause or not. But if that is, and which I believe a lot of people misunderstand what that whole game is all about, that's a whole other conversation. It's a whole.
I feel like me and you captured one of the realest moments of what, because I said this before to people because they didn't really understand. Like I told Adam when I first came and did the interview with him, right? I sat down with Adam, and Adam was like, I don't think he probably believed me, but now that I got you here, I can say it. Like I called you and told you, man, take that shit down.
Yeah, you did.
They was talking bad. I said, I'll give you your money back.
The day after the video.
After the video dropped.
You asked me to take it down.
Man, I swear.
I think it was more than 1 or 2 days you were telling me this.
Yeah.
And I told you, just let it ride. Just let it ride. Give it a few days, and you're going to see. Mm-hmm. Was I right? Mm-hmm. I'm right. Yeah. You
were fucking right.
Yeah.
That I'm forever grateful. And before, because I want to bring you back, Mark. I like having you around. I need you here with me while I'm moving through this journey, because I'm going to bring you back, man, because I feel like there's a lot more for us to dive into.
Yeah, but let me finish with this exotic story.
Come on. No, please.
So there's more to it.
Please,
I'm not going to get into details. But,
no, please.
But these kind of
I just didn't want to press you, I didn't want to press you too hard to make you feel a certain type of way.
I'm not going to say anything that's going to get anybody upset. But you have to understand that these people come from a life that they're hustlers. They're just hustlers. And you don't realize how, like when I'm giving out money, when I'm helping people, I'm doing it with the understanding that there's going to be some rehab, some therapy. If you have a drug addiction, there's going to be rehab, there's going to be some therapy. Yes, there'll be some housing and there'll be some money for food and whatever else you need. But and she had kids, she had two sons. So there's money for that too.
Yeah.
But it became evident after a month or so, like there's not going to be any rehab. There's not going to be any therapy. There's not going to be anything.
Yeah.
There's just going to be, I just need more money for my kids, more money for my kids, more money for my kids. I don't even know what the details are with your kids, but I've never seen any kids. But what's interesting about all the people I've helped with considerable, like significant money, they become entitled to that money. They feel like they're entitled to it.
Yeah.
And when it gets cut off, gets ugly.
Who was it that you said went to the apartment? Was it you or was it?
No, it was me.
And you say you found a whole bunch of sex toys laying around the apartment.
It's you and her boyfriend, so they can do whatever they like, right? That's none of my business. Ooh. I was being nosy, but here's my.
How'd you get in, Mark?
No, I got a key from the manager. I'm paying for the apartment.
You did.
No.
But I told y'all.
No,
I told y'all.
No, but here, understand this.
Learn it.
But
Come on.
Understand this. I'm responsible for how that GoFundMe money is spent. $50,000. My reputation's on the line with that $50,000, and I find out or I'm suspicious that it's being misspent. I got to get to the bottom of it. Quickly. I can't just sit around and wait for her to lie some more and find out in a month or 3 that I'm giving away all this money. So, and I wasn't giving away thousands every day. It was like, it escalated from 300 to 400, and all of a sudden it's 500, then she needs 700, then it was not, like, what the fuck? And I even said to her, like, nobody needs that kind of money, even with your 2 kids. And she would always make an excuse. It was always the kids.
Yeah.
But it was right about that time that I had to do something to figure out what was really going on. And the manager says that, no, there's a dude that goes in and out of there. There's a black dude going in and out of that apartment all the time. Like, so I needed a key. I needed to go to the bathroom anyway, so I just got a key and I went in, and sure enough, no sign of any kids. And there was, it was clear that she was having some fun there, but which is fine. That's all cool. None of my business. Hold on.
I ain't laughing at you. I'm just laughing at because I know you, bro. Here's this fucking wholesome. I know you. Here's this wholesome white man walking in, right? He's believing, and because you're a genuine guy, so you're believing everything that she's saying. Like,
I am.
I'm on a ski trip with the kids. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing this. I'm doing that, and to walk in and to see all these fucking sex toys laying everywhere. You're probably in your mind like, oh, she's up in here having a good time. You know what you told me? You said, Sharp, I walked in, and when I saw all the sex toys, it made me blush.
Yeah. So I mean, what's interesting is
you're just a wholesome man, you know. So it's different for him.
It's a different world.
Yeah, it's a different world for him. That's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. But these people that get a lot of that kind of support.
Yeah.
I'm doing it under the assumption that you're just going to use this as a temporary hand up so that you can get your life together and take your life to another, elevate. You can go to another level. You can get a job. You can get your life stabilized. You can get your own apartment and do all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That wasn't in the plans for her. Yeah. She just wanted to get a new hustle. And then when the hustle ended for her, she started resorting to all kinds of other.
How did you feel when
crazy stuff?
Because I could have swore you said that you, and I won't disclose the money, but I think that once you found that out, right, I think that you had paid old boy to come back. We won't even talk about what the money was, but you had paid him to come in with Exotic.
I paid both of them a lot of money to do that third interview.
To do that third interview and come sit down, and he pretty much admitted.
To do the math, figure. No one's going to want to talk about how they just hustled me.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be on YouTube, and everyone's going to hate you for it. Yeah. But it was cool of them to do it. They both did it. Yeah. But money is how that happens.
Money is how that happens. It's funny that you understand. I think that you're one of the number one key people that understands how money works, and I don't think you even like it. I see it in your face. You hate what money can make people do. Yeah, you hate that.
Money shouldn't.
You hate that.
Yeah,
I could tell you do. Yeah. I could tell you hate even being able to explain that to me right now like that.
You know what my favorite thing about this project is that when I go to Kentucky, West Virginia a little bit, but Kentucky especially, Eastern Kentucky, I can interview somebody, and they'll tell me their life story and all that stuff, and then I'll pull out some money to pay them, and they jump back. They won't accept it. They won't accept money from a stranger.
Wow.
And they're broker than broke. The median yearly income there is like $12,000. $12,000, and here's some city slicker who's going to peel off a $100 bill for him or something even more. They refuse it.
Well, some of these places that you're going to, man, there's people that get up to get recyclables and things like that, man, just to go make $10 for the day, man, and they got a buggy full. So when you walk up and you give somebody, man, $50 or $100, man, they looking at you like you Jesus somebody, man, and they don't mean to. It's not what they're used to.
No, but those people in Appalachia, except the ones that are drug addicted, which is a big portion of that region now, but the ones who are not are the happiest people I've ever met. The Whitaker family are happy. Look at them. They're happy. You can tell. Yeah.
That's what made it kind of sick, is because they were all in acceptance. They knew, because you asked the girl that was in the rocking chair, what was her name again? Betty. You asked her, because I remember you got into detail and you were like, well, do you know why all your siblings, I got it. You know why all your siblings are like that?
Yeah.
Do you know why? And to see her in her face be like, no, I don't know. She's like, no, I don't know what's wrong with him. He asked him genuinely. He did. He asked him genuinely. He asked him, do you know why what's wrong with them? What's wrong with Ray?
Yeah.
I don't know. She said that shit genuinely. I believed her. It wasn't for no cameras, man. It wasn't because, like you said, it wasn't for show. Half of them that were sitting there didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of courage for the people to do what they do on my channel. For everybody to come out and talk about whatever it is, whether it's a pimp talking about what he does, or it's a drug addict talking about their addiction, all the shame that they have, or it's the Whitaker family talking about their poverty and all that, their crazy situation they're in. It takes a lot of courage for these people to do it.
Right.
That's something that rarely gets talked about, is how courageous it is to have these talks on.
Do you think the Whitakers even understand what, or understood what stepping up to doing something like that even meant?
Not at the time, no. No. They do now, though.
I mean, you taught them. I'm sure they went and watched.
We've done how many videos? I think 3 videos now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You going to go back and go film them soon?
Yeah. Now the winter's over. I'm going.
Yeah.
I'll go back. Say hi to Ray and the whole gang. They love me.
Fucking
They
Mark,
love me now.
man.
They love me now.
Yeah. Mark, I appreciate you for coming in, coming and seeing me. You know you coming back, right?
Yeah.
Because this is just the beginning. No, this is just the beginning,
Well,
man.
you and I have great phone conversations. I have said how many times
Always.
this should have been a video.
Always.
This should have been a video.
Always have.
You and I
And
do.
I'll tell you this, man, from when you had told me, I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to return a favor. Hey, man, you're gold.
You too,
You're
babe.
gold, man.
You too, babe.
You feel me? Hey, the Sharp Tank. No jumper. Sharpest, coolest podcast in the world. And we out of here. Yuri's girl, shoot us up out of here. Bye, 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 bye.